Hi, I'm Harry Minkus. I've been down at the Merck since 1971. Born and raised in Chicago, and been here ever since. What year I got started? Well, the first year I started was 1971, right out of high school. How did I get the job? A friend of mine just said, "You want to go down to the Mercantile Exchange and be a runner for the summer?" And turns out I did. I came down there that summer and left a little bit to go back and go to school, but for the most part I was here ever since, and loved being here. First impression of the trading floor. Well, of course, when I first started, you started at about 9 and you got done at 1, and you thought, wow, what a great job this is. And I certainly thought it was great, but of course later on it turned out that I was working from 5 in the morning till about 6 at night. So of course you never got to see the sun for most of the winters. But how I got started is I came here to be a runner, and pretty much left with my impression of the floor. When I came down here, the first thing I knew is that this is where I wanted to be. This is the job I wanted to do, and I was here ever since then. Most memorable moment. Well, there's several that I could think of right off the top, but of course the one that I always think of is the time that I was filling orders in the pit, and it was just jammed. At that time, I think it was in the early 80s, we were actually jammed in the pit where you couldn't even breathe almost. You were perspiring the first 10 minutes of trading, and everybody was just wedged in there. And there was a guy in front of me filling orders from the lower step, a guy who was working with me, and somebody reached across to trade and kind of knocked the orders out of his hand, and he just bit him in the arm. And that guy just started yelling, "Oh, he bit me, this guy just bit me." And I think everybody referred to him as the pit viper after that time, and a story that a lot of people who were there at that time will remember, I'm sure. Most important thing a trader needs on the trading floor as a trader, well, obviously the one thing I can tell you, and everybody's going to tell you the same thing, it's discipline. Discipline is the one thing that you need to have with you all the time. I also think sometimes you want to be a little bit set back, try to look away from the market, kind of try to put yourself on the outside looking in as opposed to looking at it tick for tick. It's really hard to do that, especially now when you're focused on an electronic trade and you look at the numbers back and forth. But I think you have to have discipline. That's probably the most important thing. And you have to have a strategy, and a strategy that you're going to use that discipline with. Funniest memory. Well, there's quite a few memories. I can remember the time when I think it was in of course everybody remembers 1987 when we had the crash, and the market just had incredible. I wouldn't say that was funny. That was pretty much disastrous. Funniest may have been a couple times when the markets were just moving so quickly, and you had to react quickly. And I was filling orders at the time. Everything was on paper, and I had stacks of orders at every dollar, and I was just going through and pulling out the dollars one after the other. The clerk was kind of telling me what I needed to do, and it just was a funny time at that time when you're trying to do so much at one time. Favorite charity and charities? Well, right now I think my favorite charity is giving to our church. My church is something I give into most often. Of course, the Alzheimer's. My dad had Alzheimer's. My grandfather had Alzheimer's. So I'm a big proponent of giving money to the Alzheimer's Association. So those are my 3 favorite charities to give to right now.